Hello and welcome to this review of every faction's Premium APC. I'm reviewing these all together, and in a different way than a normal Premium review. I'll get to the reasons for that soon, as there are some key differences between the tech tree trucks and the Premium armoured vehicles. Firstly, I'll go through the reasons that you would want to buy one of these APCs, or all of them, following up with my recommendations for how best to utilise them. Lastly, I'll compare the maneuverability and armour of these vehicles, as you may want to stick with tech tree or event alternatives in some cases. Let's get into it immediately and why you would want to purchase these vehicles. So, the biggest factor for why you'd want to purchase these premium APCs is that they earn you more experience and, included in that, more silver. Picking up a premium APC as you enter into Tier 2 is a great idea for if you want to accelerate your progress within Enlisted, earning more silver to equip and purchase soldiers, as well as unlock the next weapon or vehicle in the tech tree. One key thing about APCs in general is that they are highly mobile, and you can hide these mobile spawn points in certain positions that are really difficult for the enemy to find and allow your team to gain an advantage in the match. And not only does winning potentially increase your earnings, but since your team will be repeatedly spawning on your APC, you're earning a lot of score, which translates to experience and silver, and premium squads earn double. So if you have an APC down for most of the match and you get a lot of spawns off of this from your team, that's going to be a lot of income that you don't even have to do anything for. You set the truck up one time and then you just collect money. Another really nice thing about these premium APCs is that they're not locked to a specific tier. If we went and looked at, for example, this PPD 1944 squad, this is a battle rating 3 weapon. This means you can't matchmake in BR2 or BR1 with this at all. You can bring it up to BR4 and BR5, but it's limited, right? If you were to buy the KV2, which is a BR4 vehicle, you're not going to see any BR2, which means this is not as flexible for helping you grind. But the APCs are only limited by BR2, and you can change the weapons on all the soldiers. So if I wanted to, I could bring this M3A1 half-track to BR2, maybe I'd want to bring the LBT4 into BR4. You can do whatever you really want with these, and they can follow you up a tech tree in your grind. These are one of the best squads in terms of value for allowing you to grind through a faction's tech tree. Now, another reason that you may want to pick up these armoured vehicles compared to the tech tree variants is that in the back of the gas, this is where all the soldiers sit. And your driver, you're very exposed. You're quite vulnerable to small arms fire. But if we look at the M3A1 half-track, you're covered in armour. Your soldiers are sitting inside this armoured location, and you're a little less vulnerable to infantry fire. Now, you still get blown up by stuff like anti-tank launchers, or tanks themselves, or bombs, but it could be a little bit nicer just to get your squad closer without as much risk of them being picked off by a lone infantryman. And the last key difference between the premium APCs and the regular APCs is the squad layout. If we look at a tech tree APC, for example, the Type 94 Isuzu, I can bring up to 5 riflemen, I can bring an anti-tank guy, and a driver, an assaulter, or a radio man. Now, of course, we could swap some things around. I could drop the radio man for another assaulter or a machine gunner. You would just take this assaulter slot here. The medic and the sniper are not really worth it. You could drop the anti-tank guy for a machine gunner. And with the driver, then that would give you access to, like quite a few submachine guns in the lower tier. But you're still a little bit limited. Like if I look at this squad, a driver and 2 assaulters, that means that you can bring this down. You can have SMGs on 3 guys, which is nice for lower tier, but then you still have like 3 guys stuck with normal rifles. So it's a little bit less flexible of a squad. It's harder to use this in lower tiers, but premium APCs come with a lineup of 2 assaulters, 1 anti-tank guy, 1 driver, and 1 radio operator, as well as the option to bring up to 2 machine gunners. You start with 1 by default. So what this means is that in the lower tiers, this squad has 4 automatic weapons. You could even drop an anti-tank guy or a radio operator to have 5 automatic weapons. Now, it's no secret that in Enlisted, automatic weapons are kind of king because it allows you to take out entire squads much easier. You can compensate for the dispersion within the game by just firing more bullets. It's more likely that you'll roll the dice lucky and hit the target. So, for BR2 to BR4, these APCs have an advantage. Now, in BR5, that's where we get access to things like the AVS-36 or the T-20 or the Type A automatic. That's where the premium APCs actually kind of fall off a bit and the normal APCs become good again. As you can see, I've set this squad up. You even take the driver out of the normal APC and you just have 5 riflemen and a radio guy. You could include a anti-tank guy if you wanted. But this is allowing me to bring 6 Type A automatics, which is the optimal or recommended setup for BR5. Now, I bring my Japanese one to BR5 anyway, the premium version. But as you can see, I have got 2 SMGs of the Type 108. I've got a 3rd SMG in the Tokyo Arsenal, and I've got a TE4, and then I got 2 Type A automatics. But in terms of strength of the actual 6 squad members, 6 Type A automatics is always going to be better than the 3 SMGs and the machine gunner. So that leads into my second point of my recommendations for how best to utilize these squads. Now, unfortunately, APCs cannot be brought to BR1. I think that the developers really should change this, and we might see a change like that in the future, where we can bring APCs into BR1, because, I mean, really, this doesn't have a gun. This isn't like a threatening vehicle. It's just a spawn point. And it would be really nice for BR1, Tier 1 players to have access to, honestly, one of the most important pieces of kit in the entire game. You can't understate the value of having an APC in your roster, allowing you to provide a spawn point for your team. And you can even hard carry your team by bringing an APC and then putting a rally point down when you spawn in as another squad, giving your team 2 spawn points. You can just be so much more rapid in a push with that many spawn points from one player. You can really hard carry a game that way. So my recommendation, obviously you probably already figured it out, but I would use the premium APCs starting in BR2, use them in BR3 by changing the weapons out, equipping a BR3 lineup. So, you know, obviously moving from like BR2 Thompsons to BR3 Thompsons, or obviously you can figure it out for your own self in each faction. And then when you unlock BR4, if you plan to play BR4, bring the APC up into BR4. And then when you reach BR5, that's when you can slot in your regular tech tree APC, because that will give you access to the 6 fully automatic select fire rifles of each faction, stuff like the ABT-40, the T-20. Personally, you could swap out probably the anti-tank guy. I think the radio operators are very, very useful, allowing you to call artillery on the zone or put down a smoke screen to cover you as you move your truck into position. You are vulnerable to like being pinged and blown up by tanks and stuff. So I probably wouldn't drop the radio guy, but it's a tough choice. Like, you don't even need to take the second machine gunner, but if you really want the fully automatic firepower on 5 members, you can do that. It's completely up to you. Now, one key thing to take note of is that usually when you purchase a premium squad, if I just go and find a premium squad, for example, let's look at this TZ-45. These soldiers all come at level 4, so you'll have to level them up to 5, but they come with the exact max rolled perk points for that squad. So for the TZ-45, these soldiers all get 15, 15, 27. If I go to the Orita Medics, 26, 28. So that's really nice for when you purchase a premium squad. You know that all the members in your squad, except for some exceptions, we're going to have their max roll perks. But if we look at the premium APC, the only soldier that we get that comes max rolled is the driver. Every other soldier you get within the squad is a completely random soldier. And actually, this is best if I just show you my German one, because this is not one I've updated. This gives me an Assaulter 2 with these perk points. Gives me another Assaulter 2 with these perk points. This guy kind of stinks. Now, I guess I got lucky with this Machine Gunner 2, or maybe I added this guy myself. And then I think I've added this anti-tank soldier myself, and then I've got this radio operator with these perk points. So it's only the driver that's coming with these perk points. Now, what you have to do is you can swap these out and put your own soldiers in, right? So that's just something to be aware that if you really care about having as many perk points and the best type of soldier in your squads, for the APCs, you have to add your own guys. They don't come with max level soldiers with max perk points and the max tier of that like soldier type, which is a little bit annoying. I really don't know why they did it this way. It would have just been really nice, wouldn't it, to have just given us an Assaulter 4 with max perk points. We're giving you the money, Gaijin. Please, like, it's not a major thing, but it is something to be aware of before you make a purchase. You might have to invest some silver into the squad before the squad earns you back that silver, and then you're making a profit. Another key difference that you may have spotted, for those with keen eyes, is that these tech tree APCs are basically just trucks. But the armoured personnel carriers do come with a little machine gun armament to help you with killing enemy soldiers as you move into position. Now, these machine guns are not the most powerful of all time. They're kind of just like a novel thing. You should never plan to put your APC in a position where you can continue to put down fire with these machine guns. It's, one, not going to be that effective, and two, you want to keep your APC as hidden as possible, and, shooting machine guns at the enemy team gives away your position quite a bit, and it will lead to your APC being destroyed. These are not combat vehicles, they just have this combat option. I also mentioned that these are armoured vehicles, which means they are more protected against small arms fire and potentially anti-tank rifles. Not really against anti-tank rifles, but if we look at something like the Studebaker, this fuel tank on the side can be shot at to blow up the whole vehicle. If you look at the LVT-4, there's no external fuel tank to destroy. And if we look at the X-ray, this is where the fuel tank is. You can't shoot this with a normal weapon, and even when you shoot this with an anti-tank rifle, it still doesn't blow up the vehicle. I'll link on screen a short I made that shows you how to destroy each APC with normal small arms fire. And in some cases, you'll see that things like the M3A1 half-track can be destroyed by shooting the fuel tank right here if you climb on top. But that's a little bit harder to get to than like the open fuel tank on the side of the Studebaker. And I think the last thing to do is to compare how these vehicles drive compared to their tech tree counterparts. So here we are in game, and I want to try and create as realistic of a scenario as possible for how these vehicles will be driven in game, rather than just like a straight line down the practice range. So I've loaded into Omer North, and we're going to take a route that will have some turns, and we'll just see how the vehicles handle going in a straight line, how fast they get, as well as how they handle turning, because some trucks in this game turn really badly. So we'll be starting from roughly the same position, lined up with this house right here on this wall, and then we'll probably be ending like somewhere around here. Now I'm going to just do one simulation for each vehicle just to get a rough estimate. You can see how they roughly perform against each other, and I'll put the times on the screen for how long it takes each vehicle to complete this slalom challenge course. 3, 2, 1, go. So something you can do with the armoured APCs is, as you can see, the position of the camera is all the way up here on this machine gun, but you can actually still swap to the driver position and look through the armoured window, although I think it's easier to drive and see your surroundings on this outside camera. Now let's just stick within the lines of the road here, and this APC is quite fast, no real problem with getting up to high speeds, and it corners well. And we lost a little bit of speed there from overturning, but we'll just drive past this truck and that'll be the end of our time, which is there. So, that's the M3A1 half-track for USSR. And here we are now in the GAZ AAA APC, and this will just be a roughly the same starting position. I'm going to actually drive from this middle soldier here, just for the easiest position to see from. And let's go in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, and we can see here the gas is actually a lot quicker in a straight line, so it's a bit harder to get these corners well. And so, in the interest of time, I'm going to show these other APCs in this side-by-side view, with the premium versions being on the left and the regular tech tree APCs being on the right. Now something you'll notice immediately just with both of the Axis APCs is that the APCs with tracks turn kinda crap. Like they really lose a lot of speed when you try to turn with them. Now, this might just be because it's PC controls. I'd have seen one person, take it with a grain of salt, mention that driving on the controller might be better because they claimed that when you turn on the keyboard, it like completely turns off the like forward driving. I don't know if that's true or not, but as we can see, the German Premium APC is just a little bit quicker than the tech tree one, but both are pretty slow anyway. Up next is the LVT4 on the left, the Premium USA APC, and on the right is the legendary Studebaker, which, spoiler alert, I think is the fastest of all the APCs. Now, I'm not comparing the event APCs in the Universal Carrier, as well as the SD KFZ251/9, it's the event APC with this 75mm cannon on it. The Universal Carrier is about as fast as the Studebaker, although it's much smaller and very tiny. It's really easy to hide that inside like a house and stuff. I don't have them, so I can't show you how they perform, but yeah, the Universal Carrier is as good as the Studebaker, and I would assume that the Axis one is just as good as the Premium one. Lastly, to compare the Japanese ones, and as we can see again, we'll notice that the Japanese half-track, obviously not fully wheeled, will struggle a little bit with those turns. You lose a lot of speed when you try to turn in these. And I haven't included these clips in this cut-down version, but getting set up to the starting position, or of the grid as we'll call it, getting the tracked APCs into position was a lot easier and quicker than the half-tracked ones. Or the wheeled APCs were a lot easier to get into position than the tracked ones. I'm also in these simulations of a real scenario, not showing how these vehicles handle hills. Generally the ones that are faster in the race are faster going up hills, although one that you should take note of is that the Japanese tech tree Isuzu is pretty awful at going up hills, although is being buffed in future patches to have its engine power increased, which will help it a lot with traversing hills. So in conclusion, do I recommend that you buy these Premium APCs for each faction or just the faction that you're maining? I would say yes. These are incredibly useful tools that you can use at any battle rating to increase your earnings in XP and silver to progress faster within Enlisted. You by no means need to accelerate your progress in Enlisted, but who doesn't want to get to those sweet endgame rewards faster? I hope that this review has helped you in your decision making and made you aware of everything that goes into these Premium APCs. If I have helped you, you can help me by leaving a like on this video if you enjoyed it. It helps a lot and I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!